Now that single decision could cost him 1,13,000 rupees in penalties, and most people don't even realize they are violating FEMA regulations until it's too late. Now the exact problem in this situation is RBI clearly mentions that as per FEMA Act, any person contravening any provisions of the Act shall be liable to a penalty up to. In today's video, I'll show you a real notice issued by FEMA to an NRI. Now, this is not just theory, but this is an actual violation of FEMA regulations and the notice and the penalty issued to an NRI. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what went wrong and how you as an NRI can avoid the same situation. So let's take this case of Mr. Patel, who is an OCI from US, and he made a very simple banking decision. He transferred 85 lakhs from his NRE account to his regular savings account. Now that single decision could cost him 1,13,000 rupees in penalties plus years of legal proceedings for which he had to hire lawyers and pay those expenses also. And here's something which is very alarming. This mistake is incredibly common amongst NRIs, and most people don't even realize they are violating FEMA regulations until it's too late. Let me walk you through the timeline of these events and show you this exact notice of what happened and why Mr. Patel received this notice. So Mr. Patel started transferring money from his NRE account, which was in HDFC Bank, to his normal savings account. If you see here, it clearly mentions that the applicant, which is Mr. Patel in this case, was an NRI and maintained an ordinary savings account with ICICI and also Prime Cooperative Bank Limited. Now, being a non-resident, he is not eligible to open and maintain the normal regular savings account. What he actually did is he took money into his NRE account, transferred it to his normal resident savings account, and then he loaned it to his friends at some 6% or something interest, and then he was receiving interest and he was paying the taxes rightly. But the main problem here is that even though he was charging an interest, this transaction should not have happened because there's a regular savings account, a normal savings account involved in this situation. So as you see, as per the FEMA regulations, there's only debit allowed from your NRE account to your other non-resident accounts and other permissible accounts like FCNR, NRO and those kinds of accounts. Now the exact problem in this situation is between 2016 to 2017, a credit of rupees 1,25,000 to his normal savings account in ICICI Bank was done. And when the person repaid the loan of 168, that came to his NRO account and that came into 2 installments. So while giving the money, he gave from ICICI normal savings account, and while receiving, he received it into his NRO account. Now, what the RBI notice is trying to tell here is the applicant transferred 85 lakh rupees to a normal resident ordinary account in ICICI Bank, and so this is the amount which will be considered as the amount of contravention. That means on which the penalty can apply. Now, if I take you slightly to the bottom end of this notice, RBI clearly mentions that there are legal proceedings and compounding happening in this issue. And whatever required documents are there, it was raised with the applicant here and he didn't respond in time. Now I've seen also this thing happening very common is there are some notices given by FEMA or notices given by IT department, and because some older email ID or some older mobile number which is not operative now is linked to your PAN card or your other bank accounts, and you end up not receiving it, but the notice is actually issued. So this is a serious violation. Now what happened in this case is, look at section 7. Section 7 clearly says, as per FEMA Act, any person contravening any provisions of the Act shall be liable to a penalty up to 3 times of the sums involved. So in this case, if you see, since the contravention amount is 85 lakhs, he would actually end up paying almost 2.5 crores worth of penalty if RBI would have decided to take stricter actions. So there are 2 main violations which are done in this case. If you see subsection D, which states not being maintaining the right kind of accounts, and also subsection E, which clear that there are some regulations which were not followed in terms of lending and borrowing in rupees to a person who is resident in India from a person who is residing out of India. So it's not that simple that you can easily lend your money to any of your relative or any other entity that you want to. Now, fortunately, in this case, if you see, the officer who issued the notice clearly says that I am persuaded to take a lenient view on the amount for which the contravention is to be compounded, and I consider that payment of rupees 1,13,700 will meet its end of justice in the circumstances of this case. So ideally, your liability would have been somewhere around 2.5 crores, but because the officer took a lenient view. He brought it down and he understood that there were some, let's say, due to some reasons, you're not able to convert your resident bank accounts to NRO, or any of those complications. If you submit, they take a lenient view and then they reduce the penalty. So the lesson here is very clear. As an NRI, you can only maintain specific bank accounts. Your foreign earnings that you want to invest in India, that has to be only brought in India using NRE bank accounts, and any Indian generated income, for that you have to use NRO bank accounts. Never maintain regular domestic savings accounts or currents account, and even if you maintain, don't do any transactions into them unless you convert it to normal NRO bank accounts. Now, if you want to use these funds, make sure that you are using them also from the right bank accounts. Or if you want to make any purchases and you have money in your regular savings account, take it to NRO first and then make any purchases that you want. Mr. Patel's case serves as a powerful reminder that FEMA regulations are not just suggestions. They bring very binding legal requirements on NRIs and very serious consequences also. What seemed like a simple banking transaction resulted in years of legal proceedings and substantial penalties. I've also seen many NRIs say that my friend here is already living from 10 years outside India, and he says that you don't have to bother, you don't get ever any penalty. But trust me, as there's more digitization happening, these instances are only going to increase. The cost of compliance is far less than the cost that you end up paying in these violations. So don't ignore these laws. Make sure that you are compliant, and always consult any right advisor if you get any such kind of notice and how you should plan to respond to these. If you like this video, share it with other NRIs in your network or any of NRIs that you know are still maintaining resident accounts, and this video could help them. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next.